Hi, welcome to the Rapid Profit Booster Summit. I'm Stacey Hylen, your host for the summit. I am a business coach, author, speaker, and I help business owners add an extra zero to their business without the hustle. And that's what this summit is all about, of how you can add profits to your business quickly and easily. We're not talking about strategies that take 6 months or a year to implement. These are things that are quick, that you can do this week, this month, and increase your sales quickly. We're going to be focusing on 3 key areas that you need. First of all, the mindset. As a former Tony Robbins coach and vice president of consulting, I know how important that mindset is to help you get your business growing and to make that switch to say, you know what, I can grow my profits now, no matter what the economy is doing. Then we're going to be delving into marketing and what you can be doing to separate yourself from the competition and get leads right now. And then the third area is sales. How, once you get that lead in the door, what can you do to convert more leads to clients? So we have business owners that I'm interviewing that have multi-million-dollar businesses, and they are going to be sharing their best strategies with you. So listen in. They're short, they're sweet, they're to the point. Take notes, and more importantly, take action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rapid Profit Booster Summit. I am so excited you're here with us today because we have Heather and Havenwood who is bringing the fire today. And as you know, this summit is all about how you can increase your profits quickly, no matter what the economy is doing. So I want to introduce you to Heather Havenwood. She's an award-winning, world-class speaker, award-winning media mogul. She's been crowned Ms. Texas Elite 2020 Woman of Achievement, is the creator and founder of Influencer Growth Formula, top Amazon bookseller from her book, Sexy Boss. She has a nationally syndicated radio show, Like a Boss, Insights with Influencers, named by Huffington Post as a top female entrepreneur to watch, founder of the Female Business Association, known as the Chief Sexy Boss, and she helps brands, businesses, and influencers on the best strategies to dominate their industry by being omnipresent online. So I am so excited to have her here with us today, and we're going to be talking about how you can use influence to rapidly boost your profit. So welcome, Heather. I'm excited to have you here.
Woo, woo. Thank you for that. And I just because, you know, it's post whatever, I just was nominated for Stevie Award 2020 for Most Innovative Woman of the Year in social media. So,
hey. So awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. I know you have like more award winning to add to your bio.
That's my bio. Hot topics. Yeah, so just a little feedback with everybody. The reason I have this fire going on is I usually have my brand in the back. However, it's just something that's going on with my iPad. So we got fire. So I'm going to be bringing rapid fire to the Rapid Profit Summit. Yeah. There you go.
Yes, let's do it. So let's talk about this. You're known in a lot of different ways, like your awards, your books, your radio show, they're all about being an influencer. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what an influencer is, because I think a lot of people equate influencer with somebody, you know, the Insta babes on Instagram or something like that. And they're not really seeing how it translates to business. So can you kind of give us how this works to help you increase your profits?
Yeah, so let's start with the definition of entrepreneurship. So the definition of entrepreneurship is a person that creates value in the marketplace. All right, so I want to set the stage of that. People know what an entrepreneur is, but I want to set the actual definition of entrepreneur. And the word influencer has got a bad rap. Like, oh, you're an influencer. It's another word truly for a person that adds value to the marketplace. Now, let's talk about what value is in the marketplace. Value is eyeballs. Okay, so let's just talk big picture here. News media, not going down the pipes on either side, but news media, like them or not, what side you're on, doesn't matter. There's value in the marketplace because they add value because there's eyeballs coming in, which is an audience to sell, which is advertising. So advertisers like the news cycle, obviously, because there's value. But let's move it to someone else called Kim Kardashian. A lot of people are like, what is Kim Kardashian? What does she do for me? I mean, come on. what she's doing in her entire Kardashian family is creating an entertainment value that we as a marketplace has told them that we want. So if no one wanted that, no one would be watching her. But there's 198 million people that watch her on Instagram.
Gosh.
So therefore, there is value. But I want to set the stage first before I go into it. Stacey, is like, what is entrepreneurship? What is influence? So you understand where I'm going.
Yeah. And I think that's like, most people think Kim Kardashian, like they don't have value because it's all like ridiculous stuff, but the value is not in what they're doing online. The value is on the eyeballs and the attention the marketplace is giving them because they're interested in all the crazy shenanigans that they're up to.
Yeah, which let's go down a little further. So there's Howard Stern. Over 55% of the people that listen to him hate him. I'm sure if we did a poll of the 89 million people of our current president, Trump, I don't know what the percentage would be on 50-50, 80-20, 20-80, whatever. There's going to be a large percentage either way of people that are following him, AKA eyeballs that hate him, like him. So hate or like or dislike or like has nothing to do with no value. The fact that they have that many eyeballs is the value. So The Rock has 199 million, Dwayne Johnson, 199 million followers on Instagram. Why? Well, people go, well, he's an actor. Well, that's a value he adds, but he also adds a huge entertainment value. People, why not people watch him? So I want to set the stage of that is that influencers create value. That's my point.
Okay. So how do we do that as a business owner, not an entertainer?
Yeah. So there's entertainment value, of course, to influence where people can consume them. People don't buy unless they consume. So an understanding of how that works inside as a business owner could be from a restaurant or from an expert, author, coach, course creator. That's where I kind of come in. You and I have known each other for many, many years in the what I call course creator information marketing industry. And when we set the stage of what that is, people will buy you after they consume you. So think of it like Pac-Man. You know, remember Pac-Man? Okay, I guess I'm older. But if you remember Pac-Man, it eats all these little dots and it's trying to find the ghost. And once it gets the ghost, it wins whatever. It wins a point. But it's consuming all these other things first before it, quote unquote, wins something or gets something. So think of that. We as humans don't buy unless we consume. That's why when we want to buy a car, we go in and drive it. Of course, that's being altered nowadays with virtual, but still there's some level of we consume it. Nowadays, you can buy a car and you can have a video camera inside the entire car and outside the car and all that. And you can actually consume it in some level before you buy it. So same thing with content creators. People have to feel like they can consume you before they buy from you. All right. So that's content creation, why it's so important to be a content creator in today's marketplace.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good quotable. People will buy after they consume you. And I think, you know, the thing is that we don't know what that consumption point is for the people. Like some people, they're going to grab a little bit, you know, like at Costco, right? You know, we go and we taste it, like in the olden days when we used to go taste things at Costco, and we'd be like, oh, I like that. And it's super yummy. And so we would buy it. But now, you know, like how much people have to taste before they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to buy that ginormous bag of stuff from Costco. You might have to taste it a few times and say like, oh, do my kids like that? Does my husband like it? Whatever, before you buy this ginormous thing of it. So I think for coaches, it's the same way because we're selling these high ticket programs. So you can't expect somebody to just like taste one bite and then buy, you know, a $30,000 program.
Yeah, so let's talk Gary Vee for a second. Like him or not, again, I don't go into liking or ability or not. What I go into is how are they allowing people to consume them? What's interesting about Gary Vee specifically is his models about, 10X, hustle, be out there, omnipresent. Well, yeah, okay, but I mean, what is he actually selling? he's selling his VaynerMedia, he's other things, as well, but mainly VaynerMedia necessarily. Okay. But in his specific case, he's basically saying consume me, consume me, consume me. But by the time you get to VaynerMedia, which his price point is extremely large, you already have felt like you've consumed so much of him. Of course, you want to buy into him. Same thing with Kardashian. I remember like it was yesterday. I was in Orlando at a conference. I don't know what kind of conference, but I remember talking to this guy who basically was like basically an influencer marketing agency before it was like an influencer marketing agency was a thing. He said, yeah, this was so back in the day. Yeah, I help represent, I get access to Kim Kardashian's Twitter. There's 1 million followers on that. I remember him saying there's 1 million. And at the time it was like $15,000. So I could pay this agency $15,000 at the time. And I could get on Kardashian's 1 million Twitter following. Now I don't even know what Twitter is. I think it's like 89 million, but last I checked, which was actually last week, and her Instagram is 189 million. So holy cow, right?
That just blows my mind.
I know it blows your mind. I remember listening to this guy going, $15,000 for a tweet? That's nuts. Who knows what the market is tagline is now? I really don't know. But my point is that was the beginning. That was the beginning of we as a marketplace saying we valued that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think when I first started using Twitter, it was back before CNN, before Oprah was on it and all of that. And I remember one of my clients actually came to do a VIP day, bought a whole coaching program from Twitter, never had met me, but had consumed my tweets, and her husband was like, you're going where to meet who? Like some woman you met off of Twitter.
Off of Twitter, right.
It's funny that you don't think that it works, but like even on such a thing as a tiny small tweet,
right?
It can convert for people.
Absolutely. Look at our current president as well as our news media, either side. They literally use that as their public relations announcements, right? Just today I was watching the news and there was literally an entire segment based on one person, not our current president's tweet, but a person, and they created an entire news cycle around this one random person I didn't even know. And so I thought, wow, this is the new era. Remember the old days of a thing called newspapers where you'd have a news story and then you'd have news around the news story? Now it's a tweet, right? So a tweet is actually news, which is crazy. But the point of this is, how do you create influence? You're a small business owner, you're a coach, you're a consultant. You're like, that's great, but I'm not Kardashian. I'm definitely not the president. I'm not Howard Stern. I'm not CNN or Oprah. How do I do this? Well, let's go back to the basics. The basics is you have to get your content out there in such a magnitude way so that people see you everywhere all the time. That's what happened to me. Was that when I started putting my content everywhere. I remember it was a traffic and conversion summit a couple of years ago. I'm walking through the conference because they have speeches and they have conference area, and I'm walking through and this random guy's like, hey, it's Heather Havenwood, what's going on? It was so weird to me because I was like, who you that this is my name, but I'm just curious who you talk, but he's like, oh yeah, I see you everywhere. And that's when it clicked for me. That's when it clicked for me of like, this whole everywhere all the time thing actually works, because now that he's seen me, and I don't know how much he's consumed my content, I have no idea, but he consumed it enough that he knew my name when he saw me. So if I tried to all of a sudden bring him in my world and sell him on something, I probably have an easier time than someone he doesn't even know. That person might have way more experience than me, even my more 20 years experience, but they might have more experience. But if he doesn't know them, he's like, well, I've already consumed her. So what are the chances of the conversion to the high ticket offer? It's going to be a higher percentage of a closing ratio for me than the other person.
Right.
And that's where it comes down to high influence equals a higher probability to close higher end clients.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That like, know, and trust, you have it because people are seeing you. But I think the other thing that comes into play there is they're seeing you, but then they're choosing to go back and consume more content. Right. So they might have, it's just like if you see the Kardashians once and like, I'm not into the Kardashians, I never watched it. So I might have seen it and been like, I'm not watching this. Right. But if somebody sees Heather and you do Facebook Lives and they're awesome, you give amazing content, they're like, oh, the next time I see her, I'm going to stop the scroll and watch her again. So so right now we're in the middle of the pandemic. There's economic crisis. What can people do right now as a small business owner, coach, consultant, speaker to get that influence and get those eyeballs on them to build their like, know, and trust?
They can create as much content as they possibly can. And then what I call spin it. So the first piece is create as much possible content as you can. Now, how do you do that? I call it, it's basically a 10 times 3 method. It's a pretty simple method. Whatever your product is, write down the top frequently asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what all those are. Write those down. Then go to YouTube, type all those into YouTube. And then what you'll find in all those is what I call the headline. Like you might ask it in a weird way, but once you put it into YouTube, we'll probably find what I call the headline, where it actually is that question. Take that, do it times 10, and do a video, 2 to 3 minute max video per question. That's the first thing. No more than 10 minutes, somewhere between 3 to 5, really, right? So you want to have that no more than 10. Do not go over 10. So 3 to 5 max, do that times 10. And then you can take that and what I call spin it across different social media platforms. So if you do the top 4 social media times 10, right? So you have now a large amount of content. And I actually break this down. I don't have my whiteboard today, but I break this down in how you can do 1 30-minute podcast once a week for 52 weeks. And at the end of the year, if you do it right, you can have between 12 to 15,000 pieces of content spinning out there consistently across the internet. That is the power of content, where it's what I call hooking people consistently over time, always in your groups and database and pages. Couple of tips. Number 1, try to do in a video. And then you can always make it to audio because that's spin number 2. Really try. Number 2 is really try to keep it evergreen. It's hard, but I remember second year into my podcasting, it was 2015-16, the presidential election thing going on. We're kind of in that now. And it was so challenging not to talk about it. And so I did. I talked about the current situation back in 15 and 16. And I wish I didn't, because what I did was I alienated people, even though I didn't talk about which side I was on. I alienated people, but I also, that content now is considered dead. It's not, because if you actually listen to what I'm saying, I'm talking about the power of influence and whatnot. But the fact that I'm talking about Trump and Hillary, right? Trump and Hillary, before the election was finalized, in a person's brain, it's old. It's old. So it's old, over. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be like the news. Our current news cycle is what I say 24 hours. I say it's 12 hours, but 24-hour news cycle. You don't want to be like the news. The news is constantly doing this. You want to not be the news. You want to be able to be content so that you can spin it over 4, 5, 6, 7 months, a year. Right? You really want to have that content evergreen.
There's a good thing there in syndication of shows, say, for example, like Oprah or something like that, is that you can watch Oprah back in 1990s, and other than like the hair and the clothes and everything, a lot of those topics would still be the same. And I think, I know evergreen is one of those things that people are like, what is evergreen? So I just want to identify that for those people that haven't heard what evergreen is before.
Yeah, it's timeless. It's timeless. So fitness is a timeless, any kind of, even marketing can be timeless, because I listen to Joe Sugarman and Dan Kennedy. They've been around a long time. The reason why marketing can be done timeless is that the human being hasn't changed that much. We as human beings and why we consume and buy hasn't changed. Another one is law of attraction things, personal development. Again, there hasn't been what I call necessarily crazy things happening in that world. People say there are, but still. So it's timeless. It's really timeless. Let's go back to the news. If I have my shows that I record, and I sometimes will go back maybe a day or two, But if I go back 3 days, I kind of know that that's so old that it's not even worth my time, right? 3 days ago for a news cycle, that's like months, right? In the news cycle days. But in content and YouTube, if I see something I want in a ever, kind of a topic, even if it's on like Instagram, let's say, which changes a lot, I would still think it's valuable. And like, I can go back 6 months, 9 months, even a year and go, oh, that's valuable. So you have to just really think about that when you're doing videos and content. You really want to keep it evergreen. I know on my National Syndicated Radio host, I repurpose a lot of that content. And I would tell my guests, please don't say it's Christmas or New Year's or summer or fall or, it's just today, And because I did that very intentionally with my words and I asked my guests to do that, my content can be done over and over and over again, right? That's really important. So evergreen just means you're not sure when it was done and it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of times people want to show that they're very current. And if you do that, then it can be dated so fast.
Yeah. Now there is a way. So let me say it differently though. You can news hack. So what's news hacking? News hacking, there's a woman who does this on body language, and I love what she does. So she takes situations in the news on either side of quote unquote the aisle politically, and she literally will say, oh, look what they're doing, and she'll reconstruct what they're doing. It doesn't matter if that was a 6 month ago clip or 10 years ago. It's still a human behavior thing that she's reconstructing. So if you do it right, you can news hack. And she news hacks. So whenever there was anything big going on politically, she would news hack, she would deconstruct, and then that's how she got her views, because people were already kind of looking for that particular thing. And so they came across her stuff. So that's how you can news hack without being like, oh, that's old. You know what I mean? So you can definitely use it. Just don't go into a news cycle, like your opinion of that. Like the opinion, what I call the pundits, as we call them in the news cycle. Don't be a pundit, because now you're just one of them. And the longevity and the shelf life of that is low. That's why they have to do 5 days a week. They have to do 5. They can't do one show a week. Are you kidding me? They'd be dead. So, and that's because the news cycle is so fast, they got to keep up. That's a bad business model, I think, unless you just want to go down that road.
So you're saying do the 10s, take the FAQs.
Yeah.
Break it down, do 2 to 5 minutes videos. Then you're going to you're going to put that on YouTube to start with? Is that where you post it first and then disseminate from there? Or
I actually always put it on my podcast first, and then I take it and disseminate from there. So I do podcast first, which is just the audio, and then I go to YouTube and I make sure here's why I do podcast first and YouTube, and then I disseminate from there, because the podcast and the YouTube, no matter which side you're on, you have to have the headline. Mm-hmm. Got to have the description, right? Got to have a really good headline, got to have a really good description. And then when you go to YouTube, you got to got a really decent thumbnail. Mm-hmm. And then you got to go through all the different pieces of YouTube, which is the tagging and this and this and this. Once you go through all that, you have it so that it's easy to, right? Because YouTube is actually the hardest in the world of getting all the details out. If you actually just dig in, because I do dig into this in my program of YouTube marketing, and it's harder. It's one of the hardest social medias, because there's so many different pieces that goes into it, because it's really an SEO. You put that on YouTube, you put the same video on Facebook, and you're just not going to get the juice. But if you have all the data from YouTube, that's really easy. Does that make sense? So I hope that makes sense. Now, under 10 minutes.
Search engine, not just social.
So for sure.
It's not just going by in your feed. Like, I'm not looking for Heather today or what Heather talks about, but I see it. it's more like, oh, I want to find out about influence and about doing a podcast, and they're searching, and then Heather comes up. It's like, that's
Right.
exactly what I wanted.
Right. Exactly.
Valuable
So
traffic as well.
yeah, and I know that sounds interesting, but YouTube is harder. And that under 10 minutes, you want to be able to upload it to LinkedIn. LinkedIn has some
Okay.
serious great juice. So everything under 10 minutes is got, and I mean 10, it can't be 10:01. It's gonna be like 9.59. Like you cannot, it'll put it out, So you want to have, that's why I always say 3 to 5 max. It's just rare that I go any further than that anymore. And LinkedIn has some great juice to it. So I highly recommend that.
That is fantastic. So can you give an example of one of your clients that's used this and some of the results they've seen? Because I think that's helpful for people to see how other people are using it.
Yeah. So one of my clients came to me and they do, in fact, I just talked to them today. They help speakers and get speaking gigs. Right? So one of the things that they talk about is speaking. And so what we went into is we created this podcast for them such that they were also what I call leveraging their voice across multiple platforms, not just on a stage. So once they were able to share their personal story, share who they are, what they do, they attracted a larger audience. And then at the time when I was working with them, they were doing live events. And so we're in that conversation now about their transitioning and whatnot. But the fact that they already created their online platform with the podcast and then the video really puts them in a good position to expand their current business model, which they're having to relook at because they were all about events. So, but the key is creating your online platform, right? So let's just take back for a second. I always tell my clients, there's 2 ways to market online. Okay. Pay for it or pay for it. So pay for it is you give money to Google and you give money to YouTube for ads, or you give money to yourself and different softwares and different things that I have systems so that you're doing the content once and then it's systematizing into what I call mini hooks. So this is how I look at it. If you have a boat and you drive out to the Gulf of Mexico, I'm in Texas, so there you go. Mexico, and you throw in a fishing hook, right? Just one fishing hook. And you don't have a guide with you. Like you're just like out there and you're like, this looks cool. And then you like throw a thing and like, it's just sitting there and then nothing happens. And you're like, that's it. That was a really bad trip. So you're like, okay, I just wasted my day and my time, my energy, and I'm sunburnt and all this, and I got no fish. Okay. So that to me is what people do. That's what people do. So then there's a different kind of what I call the paid way. You hire the guide, right? Hire the guide, and then he takes you out there, and then he knows the spots. Like he knows, and he's got a little fishing radar, a little thing, and then he comes out and goes, this is the spot. And then you go, and you're like, whoa, hold this way. Now you paid him a pretty penny, plus he's getting like some kickback from the fish or something, right? So you're just pulling in. That's what I call pay to play. Right? You're paying for this person to take you. You're paying Facebook to go find your clients, period. That's it. Now, the other way is that you have a guy that goes out there, right? A guy goes out there. Now, he doesn't put you exactly the spot, but puts you near the fish. And then you take your fish, your hooks, and you don't have one, you have like 100. You've got 100 out there and you're like, whoo. And then you're hanging out, you're not doing much work, and all the fish are coming to you because now you've got 100 worms in the ocean, so to speak, and they're all coming to you, and you're like, whoa. And the next thing you know, you got fish all the time, nonstop. That's what I call the organic way, where you're constantly putting content out there and tentacles out there that the people come to you, and then they get on your hooks and you reel them in. So either way, you still had to pay to get the boat out there. You know what I'm saying? You still have to pay a guide a little bit. That's the Facebook. So either way, you're paying. But at the end of the day, I think the longevity, right, is the way of organic reach. Because in the credit card world, right, paid world, Facebook world, the moment the credit card gets declined or, I don't know, end your credit, it's over, right?
Or Facebook shuts you down that they won't let you advertise. So, I mean,
it happens a lot.
Longevity.
So with organic, it's like you're putting 1,000 hooks out there all the time, constantly. So imagine after 1 year, 52 weeks, 30 minutes every single week, segment out this right way, having 12,000 pieces of content out there after 1 year that's out there all the time, constantly pulling in. That's the power. That's the power of real influence marketing.
That is amazing. I absolutely love this. So where can people find out more about you? Do you have a free thing that you want to share with the audience?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Pretty sure I do. Go to heatherhavenwood.com and heatherhavenwood.com/Stacey, and I will create one for you.
All right. Awesome. And we'll put the links below.
Yes.
So everybody can find everything, and go follow Heather on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, because she puts out, like, she is not just talking out her butt here. Like, she literally does what she says she's telling you to do. So that was a big thing for me to choose the speakers on the summit, because a lot of people just blah, 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 and they're not getting the results. They're not getting the results for their clients, but she's actually out there modeling this every single day. So go watch her. She puts out fantastic content.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you for being part. And remember, for all of you watching, don't just learn, implement.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. But you know, just watching these interviews are not going to get you the results that you want. In order to get that boost in profits, you need to take action and implement. So I want you to take a minute now, write down on your calendar what you're going to do, highlight in your notes the great action steps you identified, and put it on the calendar right now. Now, if you need some additional support in growing your business, then reach out to me for a free session at staceyhylen.com. We will help you add a zero to your business without the hustle. In the last 20 years, I have worked with business owners just starting their business at a zero, to people from 6 to 7 figures, people from 7 to 8 figures, even working with clients to go all the way from 6 figures, 8 figures in their business without the hustle. And that's a key component, because who wants to work 1,000,000 hours to make money and then have no life left? So if you would like some help with that, then go to staceyhylen.com and book a free session. No obligation, no pressure. We're going to help you figure out what are the next steps for you.